Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. That's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, Global Happiness Specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the show. Woo, we get new listeners every week, so spread the word. Reality Spirituality, the show has been broadcast probably, I think almost a little over 10 years now, believe it or not. And with I've grown, you've grown, the show has grown. I don't know how it's growing, but it's a organic growth. And I just want to really sincerely thank the listeners for sharing the show. Global Happiness Specialist. Well, who is this Rebecca L. Norrington Happiness Specialist? What does that mean? Well, what that means is my purpose and my destiny on this planet is to share with my audience, or share with an audience, whoever wants to hear it, whoever wants to listen, whoever is interested in, let me say that, whoever is interested in experiencing more happiness. And I don't know about you, but it seems like a lot of people are looking for it, looking for happiness, searching for happiness, wanting to feel better. Who doesn't want to be happy? But the problem with the whole happiness, the problem with that is we're not taught. It's just like any other skill, whether it's gardening, whether it's cooking, whether it's a surgeon, whether you're a musician, an athlete. Happiness is a skill that is practiced. Happiness is a practiced skill. And I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, nobody showed me what to practice. I mean, I know I wanted to be happy. I remember asking for the same two things when I was younger. I said, I wanted to live to my potential, and I wanted to be happy. Is that too much to ask, universe? Is that too much? I just want to be happy. Can you help me out with that? And the interesting thing is that whenever you ask, you are always given an answer. You are always provided an answer. You may not get the answer that you wanted. You may not get the answer when you wanted it, but you are always given an answer. So when I asked years and years and decades ago about how can I experience happiness, how can I be happy in every moment, the breakthrough came from it is a practice. And there are certain behaviors that we all were programmed to believe that subtract from our happiness. So the practice starts. It's really very simple. When I say happiness is a practice skill, the more you commit to the practice, and it is a daily practice, the better the results. So the question that I ask students, audience, how committed are you to prioritizing happiness? And the first part of the practice is gradually eliminating all of the behaviors that have been proven to subtract from happiness. And then, of course, practicing, cultivating, nurturing those behaviors that add to happiness. And some of the behaviors that subtract from happiness. Let me ask you these questions. Let me just ask you this, and I'm going to get to the calls in just a minute here. On a scale from 1 to 10, how important is happiness in your life? This is a question only you can answer. How important is happiness to you? And I get a lot of variable answers from 8 to 10. Some people, 7 is, happiness is a 7 to me, is an 8 to me. And the interesting thing about that is when you pick a number, when you choose a number from 1 to 10, how important happiness is to you, the question is just so that you will get an idea of really how important do you think being happy is in your own life. Now, when I say happy, I'm not talking about, oh, you achieved something and now you're happy. Oh, you have a goal, you met your goal and now you're happy. No, I'm talking about a rooted foundation when you are foundationally rooted in peace. When I talk about energy, I'm talking about a vibration, and you can feel the difference. You can feel the difference in your vibrations depending on your emotions. So when you're feeling open and grateful and you're flowing with the world, oh, kumbaya, everything is great, you have a certain vibration. And then you also have a different vibration when you are feeling frustrated, irritated, angry, sad, resistant, all of that. So this show is really about how to maintain that peaceful vibration. And it comes from practice like anything else. I had a disagreement with one of these happiness gurus that are out there online. And one of the things I remember listening to an interview, and one of the things that he was saying, he says, well, every time I play my guitar, I'm happy. And I called him on it because if I'm a happiness specialist, I'm going to have to call it. If I find something that just isn't true about happiness, that happiness is not playing the guitar. In other words, you can't find happiness. You can't be happy playing a guitar, because what if you don't have a guitar? What if you're locked in a jail cell? What if you don't have your guitar for 2 weeks? Who knows? So you're saying that if you're not playing your guitar, you can't be happy? The problem comes from thinking that anything external causes happiness. And the truth is the external has nothing to do with your internal peace. So it's really the responsibility is you and your internal peace, regardless of what happens. So my definition, because I know my listeners get tired of hearing it, but I get new listeners every week. So my definition of happiness is the ability to be at peace, regardless of what happens to you and regardless of what doesn't happen. The ability to be at peace, the ability to vibrate peace, regardless of what happens. And that is a practice. And the more you practice, the more you, I got my hand up here, the more you practice, the easier the practice becomes your identity. Now, what is it that you practice? What is it? So I gave you my definition of happiness. Now, what's your definition? You have to define it for yourself. Define it for yourself, because we are all as different as our fingerprints. And so you think about it. What is your definition? Now, when I say what's your definition, it's really up to the individual to research that and know. When I say know yourself, I mean really know. What is it? What is it that you can shine a spotlight on that is going to assist in, when I say shine a spotlight, I'm talking about the topic of today's show is shame. So I'm talking about shining a spotlight on those things that we do not want to look at. Shining a spotlight on those uncomfortable moments, those uncomfortable thoughts, all of that stuff that brings us that vibration, that energy of shame. And I'm gonna I know I jumped right into it. Let me just look at my notes really quick, because sometimes I start talking and I get shot out of a cannon and I forget to make some points that I really wanted to say in the intro. So the first question you ask yourself is, how important is happiness? And then we start to look at the behaviors, the program behaviors that we all have, that we all experience, but they are subtracting from our happiness. And let me give you a couple of them. Did you know that having expectations subtract from your happiness? Blaming someone or circumstance for how you feel subtracts from happiness. Comparing yourself to others, worrying, lack of acceptance, having attachment, noticing, this is a good one, noticing what other people are doing. When you're noticing and you make a reference, and especially when you're noticing what other people are doing and you're making a judgment about it and you don't agree with it, that is subtracting from your happiness. You might as well just drink the poison. You might as well shoot yourself in the foot. When I talk about subtracting from happiness, it's really a very simple formula. Eliminate the behaviors that subtract, and then cultivate the behaviors that add to happiness. Now, of course, the behaviors that add to happiness are, when I say are, very evident, but it's not an easy practice. One of the things that, hold on a second, I'm looking, of course, why am I looking for my notes during the show? Okay, here they are. Some of the things that add to happiness is, when I said earlier, making happiness a priority. And then getting to know yourself, accepting yourself, acceptance of others, living consciously. The other thing that adds to happiness is being okay with uncertainty. Now, that's a tough one to practice, but it is a necessary one when you are serious and committed to the practice of wanting to be happier. And when I say happy, I'm talking about a peaceful vibration, a vibration of being content, feeling content. It's a vibration of satisfaction versus dissatisfaction. So when I say practicing what the behaviors that add to happiness, that being okay with uncertainty, I'm going to challenge you and ask you, are you okay with not knowing? What is your practice of trust? Do you blindly trust that you are okay with uncertainty? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, universe, and I'm okay with that. Now, I use the term universe. Some people say God, source, higher power, spirit, energy. It doesn't matter. I use the term universe. It could be interchanged with anything, and that's the other thing. Having an attachment to a word or allowing a word to move you either way. See, this thing about words having power, I know what everybody's teaching out there, that words have a lot of power, but I'm here to tell you that you have more power, because I'll be damned if I'm going to let a single word affect my vibration, either up or down. So the practice is lessening the power of words. That's just me. Everyone has their own way of going in. But let's get to today's topic. And again, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And if you have a question for me, just press the number 1 and I will get to you. There's a few people in the queue. Just press the number 1 and I will get to you. But let's talk about the topic of today's show. Woo-wee, and it's a real doozy, isn't it? Isn't shame? I mean, shame. And the thing about shame is it's so hidden. Well, I'm getting chills. It's so hidden. Talk about it. Nobody wants to say. And I'm going to speak for myself with the shame thing, because I've had shame in my life on different occasions. I mean, really, really deep shame. I'll give you my first introduction to shame, and I will never forget it. I was in the second grade, and I came home from school, and if you listen to the show, you know that I was adopted. I'm adopted. Not was adopted. I am adopted, but I was adopted. And I came home from school, and I remember in school just sharing that. Yeah, I'm adopted, because my mother and father told me at a very early age, so I've always known that I was adopted. And I'm up here telling the teacher, anybody listen, hey, guess what? I'm adopted. And I remember coming home and telling my mother, I said, I don't remember my second grade teacher's name. Let's just call her Mrs. Smith. I remember telling my mother, Mom, Mrs. Smith didn't know that I could have thought of a more creative name than Mrs. Smith. Lord have mercy. But anyway, I digress. Mrs. Smith. How lame. How vanilla. Ooh, Mrs. Carmichael. How's that? My second grade teacher, Mrs. Carmichael. That's right. The story is the same. It's just a different name. I remember telling my mom, Mrs. Carmichael didn't know I was adopted. I told her I was adopted, but she didn't know. And my mother, I was very young, said to me, that's something that you never tell anyone. That is a secret that you do not share. You do not tell anybody you're adopted. Don't do that. And how old are you at 2 years old? 2 years old, second grade. What was I, 6, 7, 8? Well, however old I was, I immediately felt the shame of being adopted. Now, I've told this story a few times, and isn't that a crazy thing for shame? Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that vibration of shame, regardless of how you get it, regardless of how it is introduced to you, that vibration of shame is if you've read any of David Hawkins, and I highly recommend his book, David Hawkins, Hawkins, and one of his very popular books is a world-renowned speaker and author, is Power versus Force. And in this book, Power versus Force, he assigns a number to all of the vibrational emotions. He assigns a number and an energy level. Just scratch that number. An energy level, that's what it is. And he calls it, it's chapter 4 in the book, let's see, Power versus Force. I'm just looking at it right now. Chapter 4 is called Levels of Human Consciousness. Levels of human consciousness. And the lowest level of human consciousness is shame. He says here, well, this is pretty heavy. It says the level of shame is perilously proximate. I wish I could read it. Is close to feeling like you're dying. Shame is also used as a tool of cruelty. Is also used as a tool of cruelty, and I got shame with sexual abuse, emotional abuse. It warps the personality. I mean, it goes into really deep descriptions of this vibration of shame. And again, it is the lowest level of human consciousness. So shame is at 20. Guilt is at 30. Guilt is higher than shame. Apathy is 50. Grief. Then you get to fear, desire, anger, and all of the levels of consciousness. They all raise as the numbers go up. So let's see. We have shame at 20, guilt. I'm just going to read them. Shame, guilt. So they're going to go up higher. In other words, your vibration goes up higher from shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. The lowest level is shame. And the thing about shame is, I'm just gonna share my perspective. When you locate that shame that's inside, when you locate it, I'm just gonna say for me, the thing that dissipates it and gets rid of it or lightens it or loosens its power or its grip is to throw some light on it, is to expose it, is to expose it and to say it out loud. I mentioned the thing about the adoption and being ashamed, and that lasted in my life until I was 28 years old. I remember I was getting married, and one of my grandmothers told me, she says, this is just to add to more shame. Oh, you want to hear another? This is another story. I remember when I was younger, one of my grandmothers told me, she said, oh, it's better to have your own children than to adopt. Because I remember telling her I want to adopt my kids. I thought adopting was a good thing until I talked to my grandmother, and she said that oh, it's better to have your own children. So here we go, another pile of shame. The other thing that was even more shameful that happened in my life, and I'm going to get to the calls in a minute. The other things that were even more, that I felt even more shame with this. Oh, let me just finish the adoption story, because I didn't even say how I got out of that. So here I am. I'm older and feeling more shame. It's better to have your own kids. I hear that from my grandmother, on and on and on. And so what happened was, I got to a stage when I was getting married. One of my grandmothers, the same one that said it's better to have your own children, she told me, she says, well, you better let your future husband know that you were adopted. He should know that. And I called a big meeting, a big family meeting with my future husband-to-be's family, and I remember sitting around, and I don't know what kind of news they thought they were going to hear, but I said, this is important. I got something to tell everybody. And everybody's gathered around. They got a big conference table, probably about 15 people. This is all my husband's side of the family, probably not that many people, maybe 10 people. And I said, I have something to share. I was adopted. And as I'm breaking down with the shame of being adopted, which let me tell you something, that vibration of shame is real. It doesn't matter the story behind it. That vibration is a real feeling. And my ex-husband's family looked at me like, are you kidding? You call a meeting for the family to let us know that you were adopted? Next. I was brushed off like it was nothing. The second time in my life where I felt a lot of shame, and this started when I was younger too, I used to have this habit of pulling out my eyelashes, and I've told this in different stages. But the term is called trichotillomania, where people pull out their own hair. Either you pull it out from your scalp, you can pull it out your eyebrows, you pull it out your eyelashes. I just happen to pull it out from my eyelashes, pull my eyelashes out, and I would pull them out. And then they would grow back, and I would pull them out, and they grow back. And I had so much shame around it. I can't even believe I'm just saying it like it's no big deal. So much shame around that. I remember that because I just thought I was the only one on the planet until I found a whole group of people, a whole group. I mean, it's a worldwide phenomenon, this trichotillomania. And that was years ago, and it was just so much shame in my life for doing that, from wearing false eyelashes, all of it. And this shame thing, when I say to expose it, I found that it's the only way that softens, eliminates, disposes of, dilutes the power that the shame has, because the shame is the question comes, can you be at peace? Can you be happy? Can you feel that contentment, that vibration of satisfaction, and feel shame at the same time? And the answer is no. Can I feel shame and be happy at the same time? And that's why that vibration, and that's why that energy of shame has to be exposed, has the light on it. I'm not going to say has to be. Let me just say that's one of the processes. How's that? One of the processes is to shine that light on the shame, because the thing about being happy and shameful, it's impossible for them to live together. It's the same as fear. It's the same as fear. You can't be afraid, fearful, and happy at the same time. The vibrations, you just can't vibrate. You can't vibrate the same. Happiness and shame, happiness and fear. When I say shame, how do I get rid of the shame? And how does the shame affect your happiness? Bringing all of the darkness into the light and looking at it, meaning just observing it, putting it in the light, dissipates the power of the shame. When I say exposing the shame, listen, I'm not doing any of this by myself. I ask for help all the time. Universe, how can I? Universe, how do I? Universe, how do I let go of? Universe, how do I vibrate peace? How do I eliminate the shame vibration? That's all I'm going to do, audience. All I'm going to do is ask for help. Because that's the beauty and the ease and the magic of this practice. The trusting and asking the universe, guide me, inspire me, show me, reveal to me. Trust that the universe is working with you to serve you. I have a few people calling. Hold on a second. I have a area code 951. You've been on hold for a while. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for your patience. What's your first name? Welcome to Reality Spirituality.
Hi, it's Nathaniel.
Hi, Nathaniel. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. What's going on? I love when you call in the show.
I love when you have your show. You don't really post. You don't really post it. You just have it on. A lot of people won't know that you have it on and they don't post it a couple hours before.
I posted probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes before, but if you follow the show, and you follow me, it's every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But I really do appreciate you telling me. Maybe I will post it a couple hours a little earlier. But yeah, thank you for that. I'll take that. I'll take that suggestion. What's your question today?
Well, I moved into a new place, and it's kind of unusual. A lot of people stay in their rooms and stuff, and I like this girl and stuff, and I'm just wondering, I don't know, she seems kind of hard to approach.
Oh, okay. So when you say you moved into a new place, so you're saying it's a place where people in new apartments? What do you mean a new, or is it a place where people are rooming together? We're rooming together. So the most often she lives in a room or is in her room a lot, and then she works a lot, and I see her in the kitchen quite a bit and stuff. So, but I'm not sure. So are you? What are your ideas? What are your ideas to introduce yourself to her? What have you come up with?
Well, she knows who I am. Yeah, we talk and stuff, but it seems I don't know. I opened up one of her packages. She got some boots, and I accidentally wasn't paying attention. I was expecting some stuff, and I think she got upset that I opened it up.
Oh, and did you apologize?
Yeah, I did. She seemed, she just seemed upset about it. So.
Well, sometimes, sometimes those apologies have to happen more than once, and this are you calling to ask my suggestion about what to do?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, are you saying that she was upset you opened a package and she's still quote unquote mad at you? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. Sometimes she talks and then she's on the phone, but I think a couple of nights ago, I thought I heard her say, son of a gun when she walked off.
Oh. Well, but, what would you like to have? What would you like to happen?
Well, just to have more of a better relationship. That's good. I'm not sure.
Well, this is what I would say. Here we go. This is my advice. Since you called in, I'm gonna give you some kind of advice. This is my advice. This is my opinion. This is my perspective. So this is what I would do. And you said you opened a package of her, so I would go back and I would say, I realized that I opened that package and I wasn't paying attention to the addressee on there, and that's totally my fault. And I'm, I'm trying to be the best me I can be, and sometimes I'm going to make mistakes, but sometimes, but I really would like to be, have an open communication with you if that's okay with you. In other words, the easiest thing to talk to people, I don't care who it is, you like somebody, you don't like somebody, your boss, it doesn't matter, is just to be real honest. Really, really honest and speak from your heart. This thing about, playing games and I just the honesty of the moment. Just like you told me you weren't paying attention. It's just people seem to, when you really come with your heart in your hands and you're honest, there's not a lot of people, unless you're really mean, that are going to poo-poo you or not be open to hearing that. It's just really called humbling and meaning. I want to apologize again. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I want to take all of the blame for that. It's always good to take all the blame for everything. That leaves everybody else off the hook, because my shoulders are strong enough, my shoulders are broad enough, I can take the blame for all of it. So take the blame and just come with a humbling, how can we communicate better? Can you give me any suggestions? In other words, you're talking to her like you really want these questions answered. Can you give me any better suggestions? But also it's about you being yourself. It's not about you doing anything to make someone else like you. It's because either people are going to like you or people aren't going to like you. It's just as simple as that. And it's never personal. If someone doesn't warm up to me, because I'm a hard pill to swallow sometimes, and if someone doesn't really warm up to me, it has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with whether or not it's compatible energy. So I would go back and try to communicate again in a different, in another way, and ask, is there anything that, not ask is there anything, but may we have an open line of communication? I mean, does that make sense? Anything I said? Does anything I said for the last 5 minutes make sense and or help?
Oh yeah, I guess I'll have to apologize again. I'm not sure, what. She seems to be kind of moody, and she stays by herself, and she says for her day that she's a dictatorial and stuff. So she might be kind of her, because she stays in her room a lot, and I wonder, is she going to come out? And sometimes, but
well, so I have a question. So this is another question. This is a question for you, because quite frankly, if somebody's moody, and I notice they're moody, they're hot and cold, they're temperamental and all that kind of stuff, why would I even want to be around them?
Well,
that's my question to you.
I don't know, I was looking at some tarot cards or something and said maybe, she's your soulmate and, we had a breakup in a past life or something, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, what it is, but that is a good point, because I think it's, the relationship would be turbulent, and
just like this. Yeah, the relationship would be just like this, and why would you even want that?
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to meet somebody else, so they're saying that I'm really not supposed to be around, so maybe I should just let this storm blow away and, not even apologize, but I'll, apologize again anyway, because I don't know, she seems to be using it, to be upset or an excuse, but the other night, I guess I moved in, and we were both in the kitchen, and I kind of ignored her in a sense, but she was just making some tea to go to bed, and, sometimes I have to kind of, soften up to her, because I was talking a couple of weeks ago, I think before that happened, and just saying, how you doing? I was talking. I goes, are you all right? Is something wrong? She goes, I'm just tired, and so, but she seems like, she kind of feels sorry for her. She kind of has a pity party in her room.
And, let's say this, because we don't know what anybody else is doing. And sometimes people prefer being in the room. Sometimes people prefer being by themselves. And the interesting thing is when the focus is on someone else, then the focus is on someone else as opposed to what do I need to do. And the only thing we can do with people, if you're saying they're moody or whatever, the only thing we can do with people is just to be kind and be loving. Kind and loving without any kind of judgment about that, because we don't even know why someone. Listen, I have a son who likes to stay in his room too, but it's we're so different. But it always comes back to us. It always comes back to the individual and looking in the mirror and what can you do. And so the looking for something or someone else to focus on or to feel a certain way about is really time to come back to self and what can I do to fill up my own cup? What can I do to fill up my own cup? That's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Nathaniel, I really appreciate you calling, and I really appreciate you listening. Nathaniel has really good comments and good points, and the thing with all of us, we all have our experiences and our stories, and realize that we're all in the same boat. We all have similar experiences, and what are we looking for? What are we looking for? We just want to feel good. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to feel good about our lives. We want to vibrate. We want to vibrate this vibration of peace and balance and contentment and all of that. And so the practice becomes one of the things when I say the practice becomes really staying out of other people's business, because one of the things when you're in someone else's business and you're noticing what someone else is doing, and Nathaniel, this is for everybody, myself included. When I'm noticing what somebody else is doing and then I'm making a judgment about it, then guess what? I'm out of my own business. I'm not even enjoying my own present moments. I'm not even in my business. So my life, my business, and it's really interesting, the distraction when the focus is on something else other than self. And when I say that, I mean that other than self and self's peace and my own peace. So what constitutes, what brings me peace? What brings me peace is eliminating all of the things that subtract from happiness, meaning, like I said, taking anything personally, doing or paying attention to anything else that I don't have any control over. I don't have any control over anyone else, so I'm not going to be either moved up or down based on someone else's what they do or what they don't do, especially if they're in a close proximity. You know, the interesting thing about shame, again, not only is it a low level of vibration, it is a low level of vibration that the ego feeds on. And when I talk about the ego and I talk about the mind, we know the ego and the mind, that the ego wants that shame to stay, wants that shame to have a nice place to stay, place to live. And I'm here to say that there is no room for any kind of emotion that is going to subtract from my peace. So what do? I ask, number one, I say, universe, I can feel the shame. I have a story about the shame. And universe, how do I let go? How do I let go of the shame? How do I let go? How does it dissolve? Do you ask the question? And getting back to Nathaniel's concern about someone that he said that he, is noticing. The thing is, we're all living we're all living our own journey. We're all on our own individual journey. And so sometimes those journeys collide. Sometimes those journeys intertwine. And sometimes they just don't. But the people in our lives, regardless of who they are there to give us a clue as to where we are and what we're doing in our own practice. So what am I doing? Am I taking anything that they say personally? Am I allowing another person or another individual to dictate my mood or how I feel? And the answer, whatever the answer that you have, will determine the level, not the level, but the amount of peace, happiness you will feel. When I say happiness is a practice skill, it is an ongoing practice. It never, ever, ever, ever ends. Nathaniel knows that. He's called in a few times. It never ends, does it? It never ends. But that is life. And it ends when you breathe your last breath. But the practice is real. And the practice brings results. But it just depends on how committed and how determined and how you prioritize practicing. So you ask yourself these questions. Can other people hurt your feelings? It's either yes or no. Can other people offend you? It's either yes or no. Can other people disappoint you? Yes or no. Do you blame other people for how you feel? Yes or no. Do you blame your circumstances for how you feel? That's a yes or no. So when you answer yes to any of those questions, can other people hurt your feeling? Can other people offend you? Can other people disappoint you? Do you blame other people for how you feel? You blame your circumstances for how you feel. When you answer any of those questions yes, guess what? You have a homework assignment, and it's looking in the mirror, because nothing that anybody else does can affect you or your vibration unless you give it away, unless you give away that power. Woo! Thank you for this show today. Wow, the 45 minutes sure does go by fast. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Visit my website, RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. LinkedIn, I have an Instagram handle. It's Reality Spirituality. I have a few YouTube videos. You can Google, you can search for my name or Reality Spirituality on YouTube. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon.com. And my second book, Program for Unhappiness, is going to come out sometime this year. And until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You're always evolving. You're always changing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, Global Happiness Specialist Rebecca L. Norrington. Have a conscious week, and remember, happiness is a practiced skill.
Yeah, oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality Spirituality. Oh, now we get real. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good.